Welcome to the Encore Audio Archives YouTube channel. I'm Taper Dave, and this is my channel. I've uploaded hundreds of talks here that I've recorded at meetings in West LA, and I've also recorded conventions starting in 2013. I've got a bunch of those up. And Walt and Mary Murray, the original owners of Encore Audio Archives, started the company in the 80s, and Walt recorded Joe and Charlie's and a bunch of stuff down in Vista, California. My sobriety date is June 20th of 1994. I hope you find something you like, so please like and subscribe to my channel and comment down below. If you want to hear something that I don't have or that you don't see, I'll see that I get it. Anyways, take care and have a great day if you want to.
Now, this is the big time. Let us have a hand for our first speaker, who is my daughter, China. China alcoholic. Yeah. You have a ding dong to ding me, right? When I'm done at 20 after, whatever. I'm going to just keep talking. Hi. Wow. Get accustomed to the room. I'm very grateful to be here. I want to thank Barra for asking me to speak, and Susan for being alive and being in my life, and my mom for shooting me out and being my friend, and everybody else who's here. Cyril, new guy in my life, who's a wonderful guy. Lauren, my sponsee. This is ridiculous. Thanks you guys for coming. I don't need to go into the whole thing. I'm terrified, just to let you know. I acted for 20 years, and it's much easier to have a script covering in front of this many people than talk about yourself. So what I did, as I do every day in my recovery, before I got up here, is ask God to talk through me, and that's the best I can do. So that's what I'm going to do. It's great to see two of my friends who have not seen in a long time, Jason, who is here, and also Adam. Is beautiful. It's been years and years since I've seen them, and it's nice to run into people in the rooms again after you haven't seen them for a while. Glad you guys are here, wherever you are. I wanted to talk to the newcomers. First of all, welcome the newcomers and tell you that if you're uncomfortable and miserable and craving tonight and want to get loaded and are crawling in your skin, I think everybody in this room can identify with that. And I want you to know that what you're feeling is absolutely normal. And it's a wonderful spot for you to be in. I can tell you that from my own experience. When I was sitting in this chair, when Exodus Van brought us up here, when I was in rehab, this room seemed a lot bigger and a lot more frightening even than it does now, because I was just crawling. And I had no liquor, I had no medicine, I had no God, and I was running the show, wasn't running the show. And that frustrated me. And I was lost and bloated. I had an enlarged liver. At 26 years old, I got sober, almost turning 27. And I walked into rehab with an enlarged liver and alcohol neuropathy throughout my body, where I couldn't feel myself from liquor, numb in the arms and legs, and mentally insane. I checked myself in to rehab. I'm just going to give you a little background, because it has a lot to do with how I got here, obviously. I have been sober 3 times before this, but I will tell the newcomers that there's a big difference between physical sobriety and physical and mental and spiritual sobriety. I did the physical, and it was almost too simple for 5 years, but I did not work the steps. I did not get a sponsor, and I did not surrender to the fact that I wasn't God. So that makes life a little difficult. So there was no alcohol and there was no spirituality. So I was left with me from 15 to 20 years old, going, in high school, trying to make sense of adolescence and being sober, going to many meetings, like nightly meetings, but that wasn't doing anything, because I wasn't even in the spot or the place at the time. The last couple times I've been sober, I was not ready, for whatever reason, to surrender completely. The bottom that I had this last time has, I think, a lot to do with it. The first couple times, I don't think I accepted that I had no control. I did not take the first step until rehab of 1997, December 5th. I did not surrender at all. That was the first surrender of my life, to say, what I'm doing doesn't work. It's not bad or good, it's not right or wrong, it's just my life isn't working. in any way, shape, or form. My relationships suck. I'm angry constantly. You know, I'm miserable, I'm frustrated, I'm irritable, I'm restless, I'm discontent, I'm in self-pity, and so that wasn't working. You know, psychobabble labels aside, the truth was I either wanted to commit suicide, drink, or I had to work a program. And my friend Dallas, who was running the groups in Exodus, said, you know, you're in a wonderful spot, China. He said, you know why? I go, why? He goes, because you have no choices left. And I said, oh, yeah. And ever since then, I've been sober 2.5 years, and I've been crying a lot through surrender, you know, and it's wonderful because I'm not angry as much as I was. It's going from anger into sadness very quickly now, and I'm very grateful to allow myself to cry, to allow myself to be myself, to allow pain to come, to allow the joy to come. That's a new one. You know, I don't know, I do a drug daily still. It's called reality. And that causes a lot of different emotions. And joy is one of them. And that's just as uncomfortable for me as being angry. You know, I drank to do woohoo on every different level. I wanted to get more angry or happier or this or that. And when I first got sober, the serenity I was feeling I thought was boredom or depression. I was like, what the fuck's going on here? You know, I'm not ecstatic. I'm not miserable. I'm sort of somewhere in the gray area. And I read Chuck C's book and the big book, and I went, oh, that's serenity. Right. This is how you feel when you're calm. You know, I always drank to get that. Do you know what I mean? That was always the goal, was just go, you know, I just wanted them off my back, you know, mom or dad or whoever, you know, whoever was irritating me at the moment, it was their fault. So the liquor just got them away. All the gnats were gone. Mosquitoes, you know, phone calls, agents, people, you know, casting directors that want to have sex with you, you know, all those people were gone. And I could just exist in here and go, okay, now I'm creating my own reality so that I can feel comfortable. But it did work. I'll tell you the truth, it did work to blot out for a long time. There were a lot of yets that I hadn't done the first time around, like drunk driving, which I proceeded to do the last drunk. Many, many times, probably hundreds of times on PCH. Hope none of you are driving on there. A lot of things I said I'd never do. I sat on the bar stool on one of my slips, one of the 3 slips, I don't remember what time it was. I said, I'm not an alcoholic, I've never been to rehab, you know, fuck those people in AA, and then I ended up in rehab. So what I realized was that there's a surrender that happens that, you know, there are still a lot of yets. That doesn't really mean anything, though. I have to understand that just because I haven't done X, Y, and Z does not mean I'm not an alcoholic. When I got sober this last time and I checked myself into rehab, I was making more money than I'd ever made. I had the best job I'd ever had as an actor. I had a home. I was not homeless. I had all the things. And I was going crazy up here. And that's scarier than losing things. I'll tell you from my own experience. Because I really did feel like I was going cuckoo. And my semblance of God, before I got sober and was able to work the steps and come to my own understanding of God, was through music. And I'll tell you, if it weren't for, I know this, you guys might think this is cheesy and stuff, but if it weren't for Annie DeFranco and Dave Matthews when I was drinking, I'd be dead. Because I saw God through them. I mean, honestly, I was able to get some hope through the music and through lyrics when I couldn't talk to people because humans freaked me out too much at the end there. So I would stay home and drink and write really bad poetry and listen to Billie Holiday and stuff like that. So music was my only friend, and that was the way that God spoke to me when I wasn't able to deal in the human realm of things. And as I got sober, I got to be able to talk to humans, like myself, especially in these rooms, and I felt at home. Like people say, I felt comfortable here. But what I would like to say to the newcomers, what's most important that I would like to get across, I don't know if it's going to spare you any pain or not because you're on your own path. Whether or not you drink tonight is not my deal. It's between you and God. But what I can tell you is that physical sobriety, what I was starting to say before, that's one part of this disease. There's 3 parts. You know, and what I didn't understand until I got into rehab, until I was beaten into working the steps, which I thank God for, is that there's a mental obsession that doesn't start in my tits or my ass or my leg. It starts up here to want to drink. So the physical allergy is that the fact that I crave something I'm literally allergic to. But that's the physical side. Then there's the mental obsession and the BS up here that is wicked, at least for me, and that is incessant unless I give it its medicine every day, which becomes spiritual and is about God, pure and simple. This book, I've been told, is instructed to get me to a personal relationship with God, period. That is its only really function for me individually. So the 11th step, as Susan says, is not like some idea, it's a way of life. That has been the step I've worked the most in the last 2.5 years, is making it, which is through yoga for me, making it a daily effort, whether I feel like it or not, to go to yoga and to thank God for my life and to be grateful for my breath and my heartbeat and my friends and my sobriety, and to acknowledge that. Conscious contact for me is acknowledgement of God and talking to God. In the morning on my knees, to remember that, not that I'm small and less than, but that I'm humbling myself to the fact that there is a power I can go to, which I choose to call God, to help me stop drinking. Because for me, it's not really about the cravings anymore at this point in my sobriety. It's about staying sane through the daily shit that goes down, good and bad. It's about being kind and compassionate and tolerant and patient to myself and to other people. And I don't know how to do that on my own. They say this is a we program, and that's what I've found. I can't sit around in my house and try to figure out how to be kind. I have to experience it. I have to ask help on how to do it. I have to watch, primarily, people that I respect in sobriety and out of sobriety who are working spiritual programs. I watch their walk. I don't listen to them. Because, I listen, but I'd rather watch what they do to see if it matches. Because there's a lot of I love yous flying around, and it doesn't match with the walk. So I like to watch the people who are of service when they don't feel like it, the people that get out of themselves and do something about their condition, finding a solution. I remember my first sponsor said, she said, I got up on the podium and I had like 30 days, and I was like, and this and that, I should. And then I sat down. Now the newcomer's going to go, why am I here? Do you know what I mean? This person's like bitching and sitting down. Well, what is the point of this program? She said, it's your job to get up there. If you're going to share about something, you need to share a solution. That is your job at the podium. If you decide to raise your hand, otherwise, come to me and we'll work it out together, one-on-one. So that's kind of been my experience. Is just the first year of my sobriety, really sitting back and shutting up. I talked about a lot of shit I had no idea about my whole life. I knew everything. Rocket science. It didn't, I'm a chameleon, I'm an actress, and that's specifically why I got out of acting. That was my profession for 20 years of my life. And when I got sober, I realized that I could act my way into my own world too easily and fool myself too easily. And the fact that I'd slipped so many times, I thought it is no longer useful to pretend to be someone else because I don't know who I am. Myself. So there's a lot of personalities happening, you know what I mean? Going to work and then coming home, being an alcoholic and having characters, you're like, what? Who am I? So it got very confusing, all the sorts of people up here. And alcoholics, as a rule, I've noticed, or what I've heard at meetings, is that we're all good actors, we're chameleons, that we are actors. So I figured, wow, well, if I'm an actor and an alcoholic, that's a double whammy. So I got to cut out one and go to meetings. So I had a really intense experience, though, when I decided to stop acting. It's very hard to turn down $10,000 a week. And it was about my soul or the money. That's what it came down to for me. And I started to feel like a hooker because I wasn't in it anymore. My head wasn't there. My heart wasn't there. It was like a relationship. It just died. And I couldn't lie anymore. I couldn't fake it. So I asked God to help me with that, and God did, as God always does. And since then I've been in school, and I just went back to school going, whatever. I give it to you, God. Whatever you want me to do, I know there's somewhere where I will be useful. And I've decided to become an art history teacher, in college. That's what I'm going toward right now. And that was not in my brain when I got sober. That was not even in the plan. But I feel as though that is what I feel where I can be useful, and it'll be something I'm passionate about. And that's the gift of sobriety, is doing stuff that you want to do regardless of what other people think. And you have a choice when you're sober. For those of you who are new, that's the gift, is that you get to find out, especially through the steps, especially through the 4th step and the 9th step for me, I should say 4th, 5th, and 9th, were the most radical, transformational points in my sobriety so far. To 6 hours later and 100 pages later of my 5th step, I finally got something, which is that I blamed everyone my entire life for everything that happened to me. Mom, you're laughing. I made amends to you, no. I think, no, yeah. But yeah, that's another radical part of this program. Her and I are friends, you know, and she knows that I used to wish that like trucks would hit her and shit, because I couldn't understand how we'd ever connect, you know. I couldn't make her do what I wanted her to do. I was like, fuck, you know, I would every day I'd be like, why isn't she doing what I want her to, you know, and I learned through working this program that you allow people to be themselves, period, because there's no other choice. Do you know? I mean, they're going to do what they're going to do. And I have nothing to say. It's between them and God. And what I do is between me and God. You know, that's my business. And I can only try to find ways and pray to God on how to relate to people. You know, how to be a light in the darkness. As it says in the Bible, there's a candlestick, you know, and you don't put a candlestick under a bed. You put it on top of a table because it's supposed to shine. You know, and so my daily thing is I want to be that candlelight wherever I go. I try to do that. Instead of the dark, angry, bitching person, you know, that I'm very good at being, I'd rather be the person that brings the light to the room. And because of this program only, have I been led to understand that I am capable of that. I am beautiful. I am God already. And I'm shining constantly. It's always shining. It's ready for me to take a hold of it. It's my choice, though. It's my choice whether I want to delve into the, you know, my pillows or go out and help somebody. That's always a choice. It's my choice of whether I want to drink or not. That's always my choice. And God, my God, gives me that free will and that freedom, and is very loving about it. But God, to me, a little bit more about God, because that's really my whole program, meaning that I pray all day now, and it kind of just started happening through praying morning and night in the beginning of sobriety. And it's just formed itself into doing that whenever I'm not busy. I pray to God constantly when I'm driving, and I say, hey, dude, you know, and he's sitting on my shoulder, he's in the car, he's in the shower, you know, and I talk to God like my friend, you know, because I believe that God is the loving part of me. That's who I'm really talking to, is that person in there that wants the best for me, that wants me to be treated nicely, for me to treat myself well. And this guy Anthony spoke the other day, a friend of Susan's, he said the most beautiful thing. He said his whole sobriety has been about being gentle with himself. He's this big guy from New York, you know, Anthony, and he's saying this wonderful analogy about a bird. And he says that his sobriety has been about, like, he has a bird in his hands, and he says this is regarding how he treats himself or tries to. He said if you sneeze, you'll kill the bird. If you sneeze too hard, your hand will close and you know, it'll kill it. And if you let it open too much, the bird will fly away. So there's a middle point, which is the gentility that he's experienced in his sobriety, which is holding himself like that and learning by example of other people how not to be too radically black and white. You know, that's what I've learned from people here is how not to be really hard on myself and wallow in my shit, and also how not to be too arrogant and sort of prideful and ego. Chuck C's book, man, that's what saved my ass, I'll tell you. I read that it was suggested to me to read that in the first couple months. And that spoke to me more than almost anything has, that book. And he talks about ego in there, and it meaning edging God out. And that's what gave me a lot of humility is reading his book, because he put it so simply and so plainly about how this disease is about it's a disease of perception. Pure and simply to him, it's about how we see things like a funhouse mirror. You know, when they're not really the funhouse mirror, they're a mirror. You know, whatever they are, it is what it is. But we make it is what it is into something else, or I do, my own movie or my own trip, and it gets distorted. And so he said, it's for him, it's all about prayer and sort of getting close to God, and realizing that perceptions, thoughts are just thoughts, feelings are feelings, and trying to get to that gray area. You know, that's always the spot I'm trying to get to in sobriety, which has meant cutting a lot of sugar out. It's meant a whole life change. I mean, they say when you come to AA, you have to change everything. I didn't get that the first couple times around, and now I get what it means, which it means, you know, letting go of old thoughts and behaviors and certain ways of life, and exercising and breathing. And, you know, it's not just, like I said, the physical. It has to do with the spiritual malady that I have. It has to do with the mental obsession I have. It has to do with a maintenance, a spiritual maintenance. What's that quote? We have a daily reprieve. Based on this, exactly, based on that, which is the 11th step, based on the maintenance of our spiritual condition. And that finally hit me this time around. I never heard that the other times in AA because I was smoking and flirting and shit outside, but which was cool and everything, but I didn't hear anything. So that's what I heard. One of the many things that actually hit me was, right, okay, so this isn't about like hanging out and being dry. Do you know, it's not about like not drinking just. It's about, it takes work, and it's simple, but it ain't easy. I'm not going to lie to you and tell you if you're new that it's easy, but it is simple. And the fearless abandonment, you know, the fearlessness, when they say fearless and thorough from the very start, that is what I did, you know, because I knew that my life was on the line this time. I knew that there was not another one left in me. And my sponsor said, okay, I want you to call me every day, and I want you to write for 2 hours a day. I said, fine. I want you to write your fears, your envy, your resentments, your gratitude every day. I thank God she did that because I was so fucking ungrateful when I got sober. Oh, I don't have this and I don't have that. Write it down. Okay, whatever, get it off. Okay, great. She's so kind. She's like, yeah, I hear you. Just write down your gratitude list. Okay. And slowly what happened was my fear list was like the size of this room for the first 4 months of my sobriety. You know, I feared everything. You know, a light going off, someone saying hello to me, driving in the car. And as sobriety went on, the fear list got shorter and the gratitude list was like this long. And that's when I saw God working in my life, is that I saw my thinking start to change, and I saw my behavior start to change. And even Pacific Bell ladies and stuff, you know, I used to scream at them, and I'd blame them for stuff, and let me speak to your manager. Just really incessant, impatient, rude, kind of blaming them for my phone bill problem, you know, like they did it to me. And so I started noticing it in the little things like that. Like I go, thank you, have a nice day, and God bless you. Click, I go, who am I? Did that just come out of my mouth that I was that kind? I mean, so this rubs off if you stay here, is my point. You know, if you do the work, which means a lot of work in my case I've done. A lot of work, but it's so worth it. Having sponsees too, I'm looking at one of them right now. Having the 2 sponsees I've had that are both, oh, right, okay, I'll wrap it up. Both like a year and a half and like almost 2 years sober, I've been with them through their whole sobriety. That has been the biggest miracle, to see the serenity in them and the work that they've done. I'd say that's been the biggest proof of God on a personal level, because I've done the 5th step, you know, with this woman back here. And that was one of the most amazing experiences I've been through, just to witness her sobriety. And thank you for letting me talk, and God bless you. Thank you.
Boy, you can learn a lot more about people when they speak. It's you know, that's meant to be good. Okay, China and I were both in rehab together and had the same Postcards from the Edge, had the same sponsor for a while, and they were sort of looking at us like guinea pigs, like they'd never had a mother and daughter in at the same time, you know, and they're like, work on this. Okay. Where am I either? She knows where she is better than I do.
Okay, this is how I prepare my drone for launching. I like to do it inside the cab of my truck so I'm not standing outside in the weather. To install the joysticks for control, up and down, right and left, powered on. I have an Android phone that I use to connect it to the drone with. And it's actually controlled through the iPhone, through an app. Oops, wrong way. It's actually controlled through the iPhone, or through this Android phone, through the app. It's actually controlled through the Android phone through an app, and you connect it through this short connection right here.
Remote control connected.
Remote control's connected. So I pull out the drone. I have to extend the legs. Long legs extended first, then the short legs. Remove the gimbal protector. Set that aside, then power it on one short burst, then one long burst. I lay it down. So I have to go to calibrate. So the drone's not connected yet. It shows you here as this drone gets disconnected, even though the remote's powered on. So the drone has to establish it's connected. So I go into the app to calibration mode. First I'll calibrate the remote controller. Start calibration. Out, in, oop, out, in, up, down, and then this little wheel is to control the gimbal. So it's calibrated. Go to gimbal calibration, start calibration, and then it calibrates the gimbal. I don't know if that shows up. The gimbal's moving all over the place. Changes, you can see it on the video. And I'm calibrated to take off. It's acquired 7 satellites at the moment. There are 26 satellites up in the sky, which it has to acquire before you can take off. So it's connected. It's got enough satellites. This is white. I can go to press this little arrow button, swipe right to take off, and it would start the motors if I slid this to the right, but I'll wait till I get outside. Don't want to do it inside.